Good evening and welcome back, heroes. It's time to jump into round two of this Wednesday Webcam Weekly. And we've got what I think is either going to be a complete stalemate or an absolute blowout fest because we're looking at evil Innsmouth once more making an appearance on the stream, but he's running up against, tell him who, Kenan.
Order Sero, Sero 1, who is going to be, changing zones and ripping people's hands apart. So yeah, it's going to be back and forth.
He's going to be doing a lot of interacting with blocking, which is something that any Innsmouth deck ever has like zero interest in doing.
And yeah, we've got a looks like a 3 build coming down first from Sero. So a pretty modest start. Maybe we got a 2 diff to throw on the end of that there. Yep, got a hopefully a passing the torch. That's a no. Innsmouth already very happy to see it. If we're gonna get aggressive on turn 2, we want to make sure our rival has as few foundations as possible to defend with.
Most definitely. Sero's going to be a character card here with is that a prominence burn?
That's a prominence burn. And we've also seen Amphibious Ambush, so we can tell Innsmouth is not a fan of having any cards in his card pool when he is murdering you.
Those cards come in to get out. Let's get that clear. Let's set that record straight right now.
And burn you for 3 or get you a momentum. Either way, it's a win for Innsmouth.
Yeah,
and we got the 5
spicy.
build. We're two foundations, maybe 3 foundations up. Yeah, we're 3 foundations up on our opponent. And Amphibious Ambush plus Master's Pride. We got some synergy coming in here. We're just going to get to ready that foundation. So we may be looking at 7 foundations. And that's before we look at the re-readying Toga Foundation. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty interesting turn 2 from Innsmouth, I think.
Yeah, and like if we find like an Amphibious Ambush on turn 2, we get to snap that momentum in, then we get to use the Refreshing Slice and the Master's Pride readies, and then we have like 8 foundations and
turns our whole board on.
Yeah, and we've got Brute Strength and Floating for all these +1s. There's certainly a world where 27 comes in. We're probably going to have to be reliant, unless just Innsmouth draws real cold, we're probably be pretty reliant on our once per game next turn to survive our way into the mid game.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Innsmouth was hoping to see, just, a nice 3 build out from Sero. Sero went first and has the exact same number of foundations out that Innsmouth does. That's never a good sign.
Yeah, it's a pretty rough start, and if we end up having to once per game here just to survive, it's like, man, that's it feels like we've lost like all of our leverage that it felt like we had at the very beginning of this game.
Yeah, if I'm the Sero player, I am actually looking at getting that sticky balls flipped as soon as possible here and trying to save my once per game, and just hoping that it's enough. The sticky balls will hopefully help some combos not go off, like Amphibious Ambush's combo, though, the enhance that adds the card to the momentum, not the combo on the card, so maybe it won't even matter. But, adding a card to the card pool does make the Prominence Burn an 8 diff as the second card, so that's definitely a play that I would be considering making here.
It most certainly does. There's certainly some interaction that we get to achieve there. Hopefully, the sticky balls is going to be enough to pump the brakes on this aggro. But man, I don't know. I don't know if one card in our pool is really going to slow down us that much, unless the checks really start to fall out of our favor very quickly here.
And I mean, with only 2 cards in hand, oh no, he's got 3 cards in hand. Okay, so it's the question is, how much can you block?
No. We're calling for backup to cycle. We don't have a high block. Oh no.
Nope. Yeah, we don't have a high block against the deck that's playing Prominence Burn and Eat My Sticky Balls and Amphibious Ambush. That's not where you want to be right now.
This might get a little scary, man. This might get a little scary, Keenan.
And maybe we top deck to the Bonds of Friendship. Who's to say?
We're also just not popping sticky balls, which feels very. I don't know if that's a level of disrespect we can afford here.
I mean, we've already seen nothing but ranged attacks, so the other enhance on sticky balls does so little. Oh, and speaking of which, it's not even an option anymore. We've given up on the sticky balls because Innsmouth is good at target committing our cards. So we're sitting on, I'm looking at Sero's once per game here as a necessity. Like we kind of have to make this play, I think.
Which I think is why we saw the calling for backup filter come in, because we need to get the complete block off. We need that high block to once per game here. So it's even more pressure on us to have found it so that we can once per game. And we did find it on the back of a jolt.
Is it time though? Are we gonna pull the trigger?
I don't know. I kind of feel I don't know. I feel like it's in our best interest, especially now that our sticky balls is gone. But looks like we did not. This is going to
Hmm.
be on a 4 now. Are we going to see the Innsmouth response come in on this again?
Yeah, well, you gotta because you want to get the damage to get the rivet stab up to 5, so you get to draw your card.
Yeah, I think you have to. He's
Yeah.
discarding the prominence burn.
Oh my
Interestingly
god.
enough.
Yeah, that is weird considering the press conference just making. I would have absolutely telegraphed a press conference there. We drew a card against a high attack. We don't have another high block.
Yep.
This is it. So you're gonna press conference a prominence burn. What you would have actually done was you would have gotten Sero to once per game there, and that would have prevented that from being a problem for the rest of the game. So I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see press conference prominence burn there.
I'm also very surprised. Yeah, I would. I feel like that line would have made a lot of sense. But at the same time, maybe we just. If you chose another prominence burn,
Show
I'll
us
lose
another
my
prominence
mind.
burn. Show us another
Oh,
prominence burn.
but you know what? The almighty tongue whip does do it too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now he's
You
gonna
got
say,
your cards in
well,
card pool. Like this is where you want to be.
yeah, you better have this low block. We're gonna have to take the 7, going all the way down
Yeah.
to 20.
And he
Now,
doesn't even
tongue
have to
whip.
play the tongue whip here. He doesn't because his opponent probably held the low block to block the tongue whip. So if the low block is good enough, he might actually be committing a little bit over and putting a tongue whip in his card pool for no reason.
I don't know, man. If we respond here with Innsmouth, it's effectively an 8-speed tongue whip,
That's true.
right? With 4 in the pool. I guess if we have like a 1 low and we check well,
And
that
order does
is
have those.
blockable.
We got to with
It certainly does.
self-sacrifice. If you're not playing self-sacrifice in your order deck, what are you doing, right?
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I hope that we've got the good ones. Is all I can say.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's interesting, right? Because we're not seeing Sero fall into like desperation mode either. Like we're
Yeah.
still just like not only do we didn't use sticky balls, we didn't once per game. We're still not like league invitationing, right?
Right. Yeah. If we're playing Sarah and we're trying to really not die here, we are committing the creepy realization as quickly as possible. But nope.
13 damage lands home. No,
Oh,
you must be joking.
we
You
needed
must
sticky
you must be
balls. We
joking,
needed
Aiden.
to respond with Sarah's once per game. This
Yep.
was yeah.
He
I think
said, "Yep,
we
cool."
underestimated what an Innsmouth can do, and we're not going to make that same mistake again, Levi.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like what that game told me is that this is a man who has not experienced the acts of terror, the war crimes that come in from Innsmouth decks, because
Yeah.
these things are ferocious.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see the deck list before we started, and I was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be aggro." But if the Sarah player didn't get an opportunity to see it, now you know for next time. And so hopefully, what we're going to be doing is prioritizing a 4 build and making sure that we're holding on to our high block zones, especially one high block and one low block at bare minimum is required for this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, your rival showed you at some point in game 1 a prominence burn. You are
Yeah,
never allowed to go into their turn again without a high block. You're just
absolutely,
not.
absolutely.
You're not
Yeah,
legally allowed anymore.
and genuinely, like when I'm looking at this Innsmouth line of play, I think I block the rivet stab every time because I know I can pass it. Like it's gonna be the easiest card to block on his board, and even though it's gonna pump the tongue whip by 1 damage, it's better than just like getting bricked for 7 and then failing the tongue whip block because there's no way in on earth that I could ever pass that check.
Yeah, mathematically speaking, it doesn't check out. Did we see what was in his hand?
I didn't see what it was in his hand. I saw
Maybe
him
maybe we just didn't
aggressive.
have the low block. Maybe we just
But
had a few.
we definitely had a mid, right? Like we had to have
Yeah,
had a mid because otherwise you're not drawing a card with calling for backup.
right. So maybe
Okay,
you
well
just didn't think that the half block was worth it.
we got our
Yo,
stable 4.
is that a suited up?
Is
We're
it suited up?
we're suited up gaming. That is the first card in our card pool. Is we are suited
Oh,
up
excellent.
gamers here. I mean, we're the order symbol. Order symbol plays this card so well, right? We've got indiscriminate shock 1.3.
We've
We've
got
seen
plus
stuff
one
like
plus one on everything, right?
yeah,
Because we got think fast in play. So we're suited up think fast, just win the game kinda. Not really win the game, but it's definitely a solid start.
it is a very solid start. Our moves now all just casually have right like plus 2 plus 1 or plus 1
Yeah.
plus 2.
But Innsmouth
That's
already
very good.
starting with the 5 build, re-ready Master's Pride, get your press conference off. Like it's effectively seven points of material on the Innsmouth's board that he's getting to play with going into turn 2. Once again, massively outvaluing what Sero has put down already. Now, not to say Sero's cards aren't great, they're definitely solid, but if I'm Sero, sticking to this next turn, and that sticky balls is the first card I'm going to activate going into my opponent's inevitable attack turn.
Yeah, we are most definitely not going to hold back on that sticky balls trigger again. There's just
But
no shot.
it does feel a lot better to have our E to 2/5 to give -3 speed when the Innsmouth comes in, the activation comes in, because I feel like Sarah just didn't really have enough defense last time, or just didn't leverage it as well. But it's a lot easier to make decisions when it comes to just giving -3 speed, rather than to like flip a foundation and say I can't have my sticky balls for the rest of the game. So this will hopefully lead to a alive Sero by turn 3.
Possibly, there's also a world where perhaps Innsmouth's first enhance is, just snap commit down the sticky balls.
Yeah, truth. All right, we got the -1 coming out, and yeah,
Hey,
this
slowly but surely. Okay,
I
gotta take what
yeah,
we can get.
he doesn't want to block it, so he's gonna give the minus damage and just say, "All right, please stop attacking me after this. Please not have drawn any more attacks."
Yeah, we're super down to eat this 6 damage ignited arrow all day. That's just kind of eating higher than printed damage ignited arrows is essentially just like it's just the tax. It's just the
Mhm.
tax you must pay for fighting an Innsmouth deck.
Yep, sometimes. And we've committed the sticky balls, so we've
Oh
already
man,
telegraphed this is going to be an attack turn. If we're discarding the card out of there and we're committing the sticky balls, we're getting our damage. I
brute
think
strengthening up. Oh boy.
we probably want to consider a Sero once per game. I don't know if I'm fully convinced yet, but it's definitely something that is on my mind as the Sero player. Like, do I just want to prevent the problem, or is the Innsmouth trying to like sell out a little bit just to see if he can get that once per game off the table? These are the sort of
Yeah.
decisions you have
The
to make. And ooh,
the
that's
only
nice.
yeah, the only issue, right, is that if you do block to get the once per game, then you give them another attack. So it's like,
Mhm.
one hand is going to give, the other's going to take away. Is it even worth it?
Yeah.
And is it like actually valuable? But man, Innsmouth getting all the value, getting that 7 free damage there, and then just
Hmm.
super comfortably building the equivalent of 5 more resource points, right?
Yep. Yep. And that's okay. Sarah is just so happy to have, like double-digit life total at the end of turn 2. So this is at least a decent spot to be in. We might be able to do some poking this turn. We can maybe get some momentum. And wow, this is an interesting choice for a poke, because this card can just easily be full blocked if Innsmouth held the right block zone.
Yeah,
Um,
this is a heck of a poke for sure.
yeah.
Certainly a little bit of a risky one. Maybe we
High
have just
cost, but we hit the 5, which was very important. If we hit the 3 there, we may have been just game over.
yeah, it's possible that we just hit the old like double 1.3 hand, and maybe that's the
Yeah.
move. I don't know. That still feels like it's asking a lot.
We are
Oh,
not
is he,
considering flipping sticky balls here. There's no way.
bro? He's about to go in.
You can't do it. You can't. You
I don't
need
know,
that to
man.
not. You have to make Innsmouth pay his cost to commit, unless your hand is triple 1.3 and your opponent only has one card in hand, and you're like, I'm getting it this turn. There's no way.
Makes a little more sense for sure. Um,
We
So we're
I
gonna,
also noticed we didn't calling for backup immediately, it looks like, which
yeah,
just feels like an oversight.
that's also, yeah, that is really interesting for me. Like when that card's on my board, man, I don't know. I'm snap calling for backup like
Yeah.
every single time it's
You
there.
put that card on the top row of your foundations in front of your face, so you remember to activate it every single time.
Yeah, it's like the first thing. It's just the first thing you want to do all day, every day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where maybe you just don't want to use it because you feel like you can defend and you want to have a draw for later. But like at this point in the game, when I am behind on build, I'm behind on life total, I don't have as much momentum as my opponent. I'm trying to get every resource into my hand so I can get it out as quickly as possible. So I'll be a little critical of that play.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's ooh,
Hmm.
okay. So we're gonna see the static ability on suited up come in where it can be committed as if it was a foundation for the sake of costs. So
Oh
our I
yeah,
commit
commit,
I
commit.
commit one, you commit one with 1.3 is gonna come in and
Right.
bring another foundation down by the looks of it.
And that's going to allow us to play our only playable well committed speed reducer. So he's really just trying to make sure he can block for later.
Yeah, this is now do we hold a low block is the question.
It doesn't
Are,
matter because we made it a
oh,
high, and now
oh
we're getting
wow.
showdowned, and that feels terrible.
Wow, we messed up, Keenan.
This is pretty brutal. The problem was like you don't know the Innsmouth deck, and you've only gotten to see 2 turns of play, so you
Right.
didn't expect the showdown, and now you've realized how bad things have gotten. Innsmouth has really gotten to surprise the opponent here, committing requesting, so you don't get to re-ready, committing sticky balls, and you are right. We do have the double 1.3, but that 3 check is devastating. This is basically game over unless the Innsmouth breaks.
That's
Like,
seriously what it feels like right now, Keenan, because
yeah,
I don't think that we're allowed to pass this, but also if we just don't build any foundations this turn, I don't think that
yeah,
we're winning in the long run.
right, yeah. And see, if we had drawn a card off that calling for backup, we wouldn't have hit that 3.
Also true.
That's just
Also true.
that doesn't feel great. So yeah, this is pretty brutal. I think the lesson here is if you're playing Sero, never change something to high. I know it's great to get your thing fast activation off, but at the end of the day, it's not worth getting showdowned. It just isn't.
Yeah, I guess they were trying to pull like, the reverse psychology, right?
Sure.
or rather, right. Sarah was pulling the reverse psychology. Innsmouth pulled the reverse
Yeah,
psychology and said,
Innsmouth
"Actually,
definitely
I
got the
held the
reverse
high."
reverse. Yeah.
Yeah, or
I
I mean, he played every card in his hand except the one that he couldn't play, right?
right.
So I don't know if there was a whole lot of psychology involved.
I
Innsmouth
think
just said, "I don't care what your text says. I'm playing every card I can play."
I think the psychology was Sero said, I can get my think fast activation off. I'm gonna do that. And he ended up getting bit in the butt for it a little bit. So here is hoping that Innsmouth gets a brick, because we haven't really seen much from him yet, but if he's got 3 or 4 attacks in hand, we may be seeing a very dead Sero very quickly. Like this is the time to once per game right now. And
Yeah.
he's playing the only attack you get to do that on, which is the 2 speed move. So you gotta block this move. You don't care about the tongue baptization because you're ripping it out of their hand, and you're hoping that they don't show you 2 prominence breaks.
That's basically it, right? Yeah, that's essentially it. We just have to once per game, and then pray that what remains after just doesn't count to 20. And
Yeah,
then I don't know, brute strength and floating babies and
and
creepy.
and creepy. That creepy is so much damage, and it makes you really not want to. Oh, it looks like we get the activation? No, he committed ice gliding.
Yeah,
So
we
this is
went right in for
this
an
is the
ice
only attack
gliding
you block
unit.
this entire turn. None of his attacks are slow besides this one. You have to.
Yeah, yeah. This is actually the only one that he's allowed to interact with in any way whatsoever.
So I hope we have a
Okay,
low, because we just played 2 last turn, right? Like,
we did sure play two 1.3s out there. Then we played a gotcha, right? Played
yeah,
one
we
of our
played 3
gotchas.
low blocks. Did we really draw 4 low blocks? Did we
Oh
really not keep
no.
a low block going into Innsmouth's turn when we've already seen Tongue Whip and Ribbit Stab come out this game? I don't know. I think we're kind of gonna get run over here. But wait a minute. Wait a
In
minute.
Innsmouth is just chilling out. He's got an amphibious ambush in hand. He says it's not worth it. I'm happy. I'm happy with where I got from here. It's a
This
big
is the
poke.
dream. Sero gets this lease on life. Sero still has double-digit health.
Yeah.
Like, this, we're going into late game, which is the point where Sero gets to thrive a little bit. Maybe get some pokes off. Maybe actually, I don't know, draw some cards. Like, this would be crazy. We saved our calling for backups. We get to be a 7-hitter this turn if we so choose. Like, 8 foundations in, we got our asset down. We're sitting pretty. I'm happy. I
Yeah.
can live
And
like this.
man, seeing an Innsmouth player with this like healthy of a board is blowing my mind right
Yeah.
now.
And Innsmouth can no longer build without going into deadlock now. I don't see any deadlock threats from Sero on the board, or I don't know that I've seen one come through, but if he's playing like a tape toss or something like that, I mean, being able to rip some of these pieces apart is going to be a disincentive for Innsmouth to do any more building.
Yeah, I mean it's always safe to assume that tape toss is running around somewhere. We
Mhm.
have seen copies of Vile Seizing. There's a lot of like
Oh, yeah,
nope. There's a lot of nope buttons when it comes to deadlock in this
right.
in this deck.
But we're sitting on our brute strength, so like, is it really that big of a deal? We're just
Yeah,
going to play
we'll
an
we'll
attack and
just
build. Hey,
dance around. Yeah, we're
speaking
just
of our
gonna
deadlock threat.
dance around 10 all day.
Hmm.
Oof, yeah, that's the one right there. The Almighty Grasping Tape Toss is coming in hot. Thankfully for Innsmouth's sake, it's not going to be bottom decking anything anytime
Yeah.
soon.
Oh, but we hit
We did
our
it.
we hit our draw, and now what we're gonna be able to do is we're gonna move this up to 6 damage. And I wonder, I think Innsmouth is blocking some of this because he bricked. He didn't just go all out. So I think mitigating whatever damage you can without letting Sero draw cards is the ideal point here. There is a world where Sero drew enough attacks to kill us, but passing those is a whole other problem. So yeah, I think like I think you if you can block this, you block it. You like full block it. Otherwise, you're just gonna eat it all day.
Yeah, I think there's just like no.
Okay,
Oh.
Sero is either winning the game this turn or has just made a massive blunder.
Did
So
we
I'm
did we draw the
interested to
other
see.
two 1.3 millions?
I mean, if we did, he's not committing his board out with two 1.3s. Like, there's got to be some other. There's got to be a rub to this somewhere, right?
You know, you would think Keenan, but at the same time, maybe we just, really want this 7 damage to get there.
Or maybe we drew a second sticky balls and we just decided we want to play it. We'd rather have it on the board because mid blocks in this matchup are kind of a joke
Yeah,
for
they're
both
uh they're not
sides.
they're just not gonna pull a massive amount of weight.
Wait, did we
I'm
just partial block this move, or did we? Yeah, we definitely rezoned it. That's a mid block, yeah.
Yes.
So Sarah's drawing 2 cards. I mean,
Yeah.
that's Sero is happy right now. This is where we want to be. And now there are 4 cards committed, which means our double 1.3 that we may have drawn, I mean, is a little scary.
Oh boy. Oh boy. It's indiscriminate shock time, lads.
All right, it's not terrifying though until we know we can't block it. So let's see
Yeah.
what happens. What I
Yeah.
really just hope is that we don't rezone this to high and then get showdown again because that would be
Oh
brutal.
my god, that would be tragic. Please. I'm not ready for that, man. I'm just not ready
Mm.
for that.
Yeah, this is, I mean, good start, good checks. We can still commit one with our suited up, which is a very nice convenience to have. Also allows us to get more speed on our moves, make them harder to block, which is huge.
Yeah, going for that free stun, man. That free stun feels very, very, very good in tandem, right? With
Mm.
our nice, our very expensive 3 diff asset, but certainly one that's pulling a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's got very like suited up is just one of those cards that you can kind of build around if you really
Mhm.
want to, but also if you just got like some nice interactions with it inside your deck whatsoever, it's just a card that gets you there.
Yeah, and if you're really trying to avoid getting hit with the showdown here, you can commit suited up and rezone with think fast back to low.
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
way
if
you
you
don't
make
have
those
to
plays
trap
here, but
yourself.
yeah, it would feel really bad if the Innsmouth happens to be sitting on a second showdown because all he needs is a 10, and it turns out he can exactly pass it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. He's got it right
Are
on
we
the
picking
money.
cards up?
Are we
Oh
picking
yeah, we're
cards
picking
up?
cards up. We didn't have the high block this time. We decided to keep the low because we were like, "There's no way he's gonna play back
Oh
into me
my
having a showdown,"
god.
and turns out doing that was exactly what Sarah needed to do.
Yeah, looks like the reverse inverse psychology came in on that one and is going to deliver us to a pretty intense game two. Now, do you think that we're going to see? You think that we're going to see Innsmouth put out that signature, turn two, turn three again? Is he going to unleash the bout of his moves and just get rid of his whole hand, fill your card pull up, and just sock you around like crazy?
But weirdly, it feels like Innsmouth's advantage over the last couple games is that he's gotten to go second, which has netted him nothing less than like 7 to 8 points of foundation power each turn, like going second. Let's see how he does going first, because there's 2 versions of this. There's the version where he draws 6, builds 6. There's the version where he draws his attacks and suddenly he's on a 3 build versus staring down Sarah's 5 build, going, okay, I have to build 2 more turns, and Sarah's getting his options to stabilize. So there's going to be a lot determined just from this first draw in Mulligan.
Yeah, Innsmouth he's such a unique full slam
Oh,
in the
we
hand,
snap
no
heaped.
mulligan needed.
Yeah, our hand was so good here. So yeah, I think this is going to spell some scary just from what has happened so far. This is going to spell some scary for our boy Sero. But a 4 build is actually the least scary thing that has happened so far because none of those cards is giving him additional like foundation value. They're giving him damage, they're giving him draw, but they're not giving him, hey, I can pass 4 cards guaranteed turn 2 if I want to. So
Yeah,
that's actually a boon for Sero because Sero would much rather deal with a 1 big attack than like 4 medium attacks.
Yeah, Innsmouth's board is just like stats on stats, pretty
Hmm.
much. It's just
Yeah,
out here to make our pokes that much pokier,
yeah,
and hopefully try and just secure us a little bit of game state progression.
yep,
Because I do think that like Innsmouth needs a board. He
yes.
does need a board. Like he's not a character that can pull out these like crazy one turn kills on turn two for the most part. He
Yep.
does need a little bit of setup, and he does need to kind of know that like where he stands.
Oh no. No, we need to play way more. We're a seven-hander going second. How are we
Yeah, this
keeping
is
four cards in our hand against a character that's only plowing out like fast speed moves? This is crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna take some serious damage this turn. It
I
feels like.
Yeah, like Sero needed to get to a five build and just, do the most efficient blocking he can do. Oh, but
Ooh,
wait a
saved by the
second.
bell. Saved by the
Saved by the
bell.
brick. And it wasn't even much of a brick. This is interesting. We're seeing some footsies here. We're seeing a little bit of we don't want to go in. We just want to be very stable. And if I'm Innsmouth in that situation, I'm throwing my hand at the guy. Like there's no question. Sarah's not killing me on turn two. I have the most options. So Innsmouth drew as dead as you can draw. Like there can't even be an attack in his hand because otherwise you're trying to proc the excited for blood. Like this is crazy. And now Sarah's getting his best poke that he can possibly have off.
Yeah, but we are taking a 3 on the opening for it though, so we're certainly going to I mean, we're gonna have to be wary. Going into Innsmouth turn while he's got, 6 ready foundations, 2
Mhm.
floating babies, 2 excited for blood. That's there's just a lot of room there for a lot of really, really messed up stuff to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd be interested because like I'm almost guaranteeing Sarah's gonna make this a low and get his think fast off because he doesn't want to get showdowned. And then if Innsmouth is blocking anything here, like a lot of his low blocks are his attacks. So I would be shocked to see like a tongue whip come down as a block here or a rivet stab. I think those are
Yeah,
both cards that I would have considered throwing last turn.
yeah, we really don't want to lose either of those. I'm super curious as
An
to what was in our
ambush?
hand.
This
Huh.
card's huge. Maybe that's all he
Maybe
had. Maybe he didn't want to combo it because he didn't want to throw it out because he wanted to get his momentum. But
Yeah, maybe we just had the one ambush. Still though,
I
that's
mean,
pretty rough.
it's one of the strongest cards. We've seen it turn on a whole staging area without even being there. He gets Master's Prides down. Like he's got other options that synergize really well with that card. It clears his card pool. He only has 6 foundations. None of them rebuy anything. Like that's a wild choice to keep against what is that 4 damage? I would eat 4 all day there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I think that we're losing a pretty serious amount of sculpt value there, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Again, without seeing the rest of the hand, it's hard to
Yeah,
comment
it's
on.
always dubious when you're like, yeah, I would do blah blah blah, and yet their hand necessitated it, so that makes sense. But even then, it seems like he's being very. I mean, he did just lose to Sarah, so he's got a little bit of like apprehension. But this Sarah has committed 2 of his foundations and has 2 cards ready, and yeah, sure, we could have taken 8 damage this turn and had an ambush. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we have to pull out the block stops at some point because
Yeah.
while we're in kind of this like little like back and forth like footsies type of poke game,
Hmm.
you have to be really really wary of like how you're actually progressing the game state in the long run, because if you guys just like posturing that you can't really threaten, then the builds are just going to increase more and more, and you're going to actually lose any handle on your game of footsie at some point through that process.
Absolutely. So I saw it looks like okay. So he took 2, and one of them was full blocked, so it was only 1 off the electric build. I see. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens here. It doesn't look like there was a review, so Innsmouth kept his 3 cards. Hopefully, they were all orange, and it's time to really go in. Looks like we just got to peek at him a little bit. One of them was an ambush.
Yeah, a whole nother ambush, a whole other ambush. Maybe we did just have like 2 ambush and nothing else.
Okay, lead and burn. I like this, and not passing the check very well.
No, definitely not leading the check-in very well at all. Very well at all.
What are the odds our
However,
Sero is passing a 6 speed block right now with three cards up?
fairly okay. I mean, we do have to check well.
Mhm.
We do have to check well.
Yeah.
Um,
Do we do so I guess the question here is like
oh, we're
Sarah,
now we're not passing it.
we're not passing it
I
anymore?
mean, we could.
Oh
It's
yeah, because we got the
effectively
Innsmouth
now
out.
7, so like we have to have like a
Plus
plus
one.
1 and then check a 5.
Yeah. And then we would have to commit our character, which is taking away one of the only pieces of defense we have down. I think at this point we really consider flipping that jolt. we gotta commit. And I don't not think it matters. Like there's a reason to commit the babies here instead of committing one of the Excited for Bloods. Like Excited for Blood is scary because it draws them 2 cards, but like it doesn't represent extra damage. It just represents the potential for extra damage down the road, and then our opponent has to pass their checks. Versus committing babies is just taking that damage off the board for the rest of the turn, which could actually end up being more important.
Yeah, he goes for the more temporary play here by hitting the Excited for Blood. I don't super disagree with this.
I,
You
I
know,
think either decision makes sense.
yeah, it feels like it's on a small enough it's a small enough margin to not really think about it too hard.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got a effective 7 speed high for 11 damage coming in here. Like, I think if I'm Sero, I have to eat this because I have to consider the next one could be Rivet Stab. And if the next one is Rivet Stab, I can block Rivet Stab and still respond with my characters once per game.
Yeah, because like no matter what we do, we have to get, we're gonna get like one block in this turn. You
Yeah,
have to
maybe.
block. You have to block. Yeah, maybe. Oh my god, we don't even have the full block.
The
You,
partial
you
is
must be
rough.
joking.
Hey, but we got a 3 check off the top of our deck. So
You
at
know
the end
what?
of
I
the day,
suppose we did.
at the end of the day, it means that we might be able to block something later more effectively. Like taking 11 there is okay if we don't have to check a 3.
Yeah. And so we pay 2 to draw a card and then immediately heal back up, which also says that some crazy things might kind of be coming our way.
Yeah, I mean the also heal back up kind of makes sense if you don't think you can pass your checks for the rest of the turn, because you are banking on, like, Sero did output a lot of damage very quickly, and if you've already committed, what is it, 4 cards, and then you're thinking a 1.3 is coming that you can't block later, I mean that's scary in itself.
Yeah, it's extremely hard. It's extremely hard. But man, if this man came here to do anything today, it's play Tongue Whip and discard an attack for Innsmouth response.
And this is 6 speed right now, I believe, because of the or no, it's only pumping Prominence is only pumping Fury attacks, that's right. So yeah, it's only 4 speed, but it's nigh unblockable with
Yeah,
3
it's
cards in card pool.
yeah, it's not really going anytime soon, and we can even
Yeah.
send in a Fury after this and still get that bonus speed off.
Yeah, and with 3 cards in card pool, speed or no speed, there's almost no guarantee of any kind of blocking here. I think if you've got a +1 low here, you might just play it and pray. You might destroy a foundation with self-sacrifice, but 1 damage here just feels so minuscule that I would probably just save the foundations just in case your opponent doesn't have it.
Yeah, I just don't think it's particularly worth it. I mean, if he just slams another tongue whip here, I mean, I don't know. He's just the guy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I guess he's just the guy,
that
huh?
is solidly game over. And
Yep.
yeah, I think our Sero was plagued by not getting good turn 1 builds. It was very difficult to do anything when you're building 3 going second. Like that's
Yeah.
against a character like Innsmouth who's just outspeeding you, clogging your card pool up. There's no way for you to be able to bounce back from that. So I think our Sero player fell victim to some bad draws here.
Most certainly, most certainly. Fell victim to some bad draws and some bad checks on his own end, as well as just the simple process of, man, the evil Innsmouth deck found 2 tongue whips in 2 different games. That's, I don't like to oversimplify our game sometimes, but that is just like how that works.
That is the way the cookie will crumble when you get those kind of draws. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in here like, I've got this suited up here. I've got a bunch of attacks that commit a foundation. I got all these
Yeah.
cool things going on, and his mouth is just like whip, whip, whip.
And I gotta say, I do love that we got to see that game too from Sero, because we really got to showcase like what his deck can do when it gets all of its pieces. But it was a little disheartening to see, like, hey, I couldn't quite get the build going. I got outbuilt going second and first. It's just, sometimes the game will fall like that, and it's not ideal, but it is how it sometimes happens.
Yep. Sometimes the fate wills you to fall under certain circumstances, and whether it be through your own volition or a flurry of tongue whips, it led Innsmouth to a fantastic victory going into this round 2. So, guys, Keenan and I are going to bounce out for a little bit and hopefully have something just as thrilling lined up for the 3rd round of this Wednesday Webcam Weekly. Do not go anywhere, heroes.
See you in a bit.